Hello my friends. So today I want to make a few comments on this video that Stefan Molyneux put out recently with Dr. Duke Pesta called The Myth of the Noble Savage. And I want to talk about this because Dr. Pesta and Molyneux are taking a very non-European perspective on Romanticism. Because this whole idea of the noble savage, it comes from the era of Romanticism in Europe. When we think about Romanticism, the two main concepts that Molyneux and Pesta brought up are that of the noble savage and that of the innocent child. And really they're two aspects of the same concept, really. It's the idea that society's institutions, during the 16th and 17th century and the whole Romantic movement, really focused around the idea that society's institutions, the church, schools, just the moralizing institution of society that existed in Europe at that time, the Judeo-Christian moralizing institutions, were corrupting to the pure spirit of the European people. And so they rejected these institutions and all of the indoctrination and all of the laws and whatnot that come with them. They rejected them and began to glorify what are termed today noble savages, or what Dr. Pesta and Stefan Molyneux refer to as primitive people who lack technology and lack any civilization. And so we glorified this as a more pure way of living, and but in reality, this is what they say, is that in reality these were these horrible, violent, aggressive societies, and that we only saw the beneficent aspects of it from a distance. But I mean, you'll have to completely ignore the fascination with Japan or India then, because unless you're going to say that those are completely primitive, backwards cultures, which I wouldn't say so. But so they are presenting Romanticism as if it's just a reaction to overcrowding cities during this time, increased urbanization, increased industrialization. The focus on nature that also comes with Romanticism is just a side effect of being urbanized or being industrialized. But I think that their position is ridiculous. I think that their position is really the myth here. It had nothing to do with the increased urbanization or industrialization that Europe was going through at the time, because Europeans have venerated nature and seen themselves as a part of nature all the way since antiquity. And that at that point in time, the landscape was dominated by nature. Europe was basically just one big forest. So how can you say that the rise of cities led to this veneration of nature, when really the veneration of nature is what was normal? The rise of cities was what was abnormal, and the veneration of nature, this emotional outburst, was the native spirit reacting to this one particular event. I mean, it's not like the event caused their veneration of nature. It's that their veneration of nature caused their reaction to the event of industrialization and urbanization. So they're wrong there. But they're also wrong with this idea that that they wanted to do away with any education or any civilization. I don't think that the Romantics, because they say in the video, the Myth of the Noble Savage video, they say that these Romantics were so dumb, they're so dim-witted and emotionally driven, that they really honestly believed that little kids were the purest and greatest, and they obviously have never seen what a 3-year-old will do. They obviously have never seen how immature 3-year-olds are. So debunked. Yeah, Romanticism debunked. That's ridiculous. That's not, I don't think that's at all the spirit of what they were saying. And if they were saying something like that, I think it's more along the lines of like a teenage kid who gets rejected by a woman, some really mean woman or something that rejects him, and then he projects that onto women in general, right? So what was happening is Europe is getting a taste, well, it was dominated by a foreign religion of Judeo-Christianity, and being dominated by this religion and all of the institutions that came along with this religious domination, they began to see institutions in and of itself as evil, because they didn't really have another perspective. They didn't know what to compare it to. So it's like, you know, a false generalization, but it's a generalization that came from interaction with this legitimately corrupting institution, this foreign institution. So I think in reality they weren't rejecting all institution or all education or anything like that. What they were rejecting was the church's institution and the church's education. And they saw that as being corrupting to the European people. And honestly, it was. It's a foreign culture, a foreign religion from a foreign people, and it goes entirely against the native sensibilities of the European race. So Romanticism was a reaction to this. It was during a period of instability and a period of economic revolution. This was an instinctive reaction of the people, of the natives, of the civilization that was being subverted and revolutionized. And so when they looked at other people, when they looked at the so-called noble savages like the Native Americans or the Japanese, or I don't know how you can call them savages, but or the Indians or whoever, the Papua New Guineans or whatever, these people who have a society, who have civilizations which are defined by their own native people in their own native land, in their own image of who they are and who they want to be as a people, which represents their instinctive capacities and their instinctive drives. They looked at those which existed pure, without foreign elements subverting it and taking it over and usurping power. They looked at those and they saw, hey, there's something really cool about that. There's something I like, you know, personally, I wouldn't want to be an Indian, a Native American, or something like, or even a Japanese person. I wouldn't want to be Japanese. But you look at them and you see that their societies are structured, defined, controlled, and ordered fundamentally from all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, by Japanese, for Japanese, or, you know, by Native Americans, for Native Americans. And that is what looked so attractive to these people. It's not that they wanted to completely throw off all sense of institution or all sense of civilized organization or hierarchy or anything like that. It's that they wanted their own. It's that they wanted their own native soul, their own native spirit. And it comes also out with their ideas of children, where they looked at children. It's not like they saw children as being perfect or smarter or stronger or better at anything. They saw children as being untouched, pristine, without the influence of these foreign elements, which is true. Children, before being indoctrinated by school or church, they are connected with their instincts. And that is a beautiful, noble thing. And so that is really what I think Romanticism was about. And maybe some of them were, you know, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, rejecting all institutions, just like I said, like a boy who gets rejected by a woman and projects that onto all women. But the spirit of it is a spirit of rebellion from a foreign occupier, a foreign culture which is trying to impose itself upon your native culture. And Dr. Pesta and Molyneux don't even broach that as a they don't even acknowledge that as a possibility, because to them, Judeo-Christianity is the bedrock of Western civilization. It pisses me off. Sorry. Thanks for watching.